I stared at my brother's text, each word searing through my chest like a fresh wound. Don't show up to Dad's 60th, you'll embarrass us all. If I see you near the venue, I'll have you escorted out. Typical Lucas, ever the loyal golden boy guarding the Reyes family image. Tonight's party at the Barton Creek Country Club was the social event of the season in Austin. Tech investors, city officials, and industry bigwigs, all gathering to honor Daniel Reyes, the man behind Reyes Dynamics. Heaven forbid they find out that the daughter he shunned wasn't the disappointment he'd painted her to be. Another ping, this time from my stepmother, Claire. Lucas is right. Tonight's crucial for your father's partnerships. Please, don't create any drama. Drama. That's what they'd called it when I turned down the family's executive training track 7 years ago. I didn't want the catered path at Reyes Dynamics. Didn't want a VP title gifted like a party favor. I wanted to earn my place in the world. So I left, and they never asked what happened after. Across my office, a plaque glinted in the sunlight. Fast Company's most disruptive founder under 35. Right beside it, a framed article from Techline Weekly. Isabella Lynn and the Quantum Leap in Sustainable Energy Storage. They didn't know Isabella Lynn was me. I'd taken my mother's surname after college. And while they were busy mocking my rebellious phase, I was in a lab, designing the breakthrough quantum cell batteries that would upend the energy sector. The same technology Reyes Dynamics was now desperate to license just to survive. My phone lit up. David Kim, COO of my company, Lintic Systems. Everything's ready. Summit Capital will announce the partnership at 8 sharp. Are you sure you want to reveal yourself tonight? I glanced at the invitation still on my desk, with its embossed lettering and dramatic flair. A celebration of Daniel Reyes, visionary, builder, father. Yes, I replied, my voice steady. It's time. David chuckled. Oh, and Olivia Summit said your presence was personally requested. Apparently your father's been begging for a meeting with the Lintic CEO for months. He smiled. Of course he had. The electric energy market had left his firm behind. He needed my designs to stay afloat. I slipped into a sleek black dress. Elegant, but understated. No designer logos. Around my neck, I clasped a small silver moon pendant. My mother's. The only piece of family I'd ever carried with me. Tonight, the entire city would watch as the unknown CEO their beloved Daniel Reyes had spent months trying to impress, stepped onto the stage. And I wouldn't need to say a word. She'd given it to me before she passed. Back when I was still the daughter my father bragged about at conferences and holiday dinners. Follow your heart, Isabella, Mom had whispered, tucking the silver pendant into my palm, even if it leads you far from where others say you should go. The Barton Creek Country Club shimmered ahead as my car rolled to a stop at the valet station. Inside, the event was already in full swing. Chandeliers glinting above Austin's elite, laughter spilling over clinking glasses, and a massive banner stretched across the ballroom entrance. Happy 60th birthday, Daniel Reyes. At the check-in table stood Lucas's wife, Rachel, looking regal and alert with her ever-present clipboard. Her expression froze the moment she spotted me stepping out of the car. Isabella, she stammered, flustered, you can't just walk in. Lucas specifically. Good evening, Mrs. Reyes, I interrupted with calm precision. I believe you'll find I'm on the guest list. James Summit's office called ahead. You'll want to check your tablet. Her fingers flew across the screen. Wait. Yes, you're listed. Mr. Summit said he specifically requested. How did you? But I was already inside. Same marble floors. Same orchestrated laughs. Same air of quiet competition. It was the world I had abandoned. And it hadn't changed a bit. Claire stood near the bar, her voice bright as she showed off a new diamond cuff. My half-sister Madison clung to a 20-something hedge fund analyst, eyes wide with admiration. Lucas saw me next. His face fell into a scowl as he stalked toward me. What part of stay away didn't you get? Lovely to see you too, Lucas, I said evenly. It's a beautiful party. Security's coming, he muttered through clenched teeth. You have 60 seconds to leave. Don't humiliate yourself. I glanced at my watch. Actually, I think you'll find Mr. Summit will be here in 30 seconds, and he asked that I be here for the announcement. Confusion clouded his face. Summit? What could James Summit possibly want with you? Right on cue, the atmosphere in the room shifted, conversations faltered, heads turned, a hush rolled through the crowd like a wave. James Summit had arrived. At 65, Summit didn't need to shout or swagger. His presence alone silenced the room. His investment firm, Summit Capital, was the stuff of legends. Tonight, everyone knew he was about to unveil a major partnership. My father practically sprinted to greet him, hand extended like a man hoping to claim the spotlight. James, so glad you made it. Let's talk inside. But Summit's eyes were scanning the room. And then they stopped. On me. Ah, there she is. A beat of silence, sharp and absolute. James brushed past my father without a second glance, walking directly toward me. Or, should I say, Ms. Reyes, he said, offering his hand with a smile. It's an honor to finally meet in person. You could have heard a champagne bubble burst. Claire's cocktail glass dipped. Madison blinked. Lucas looked like he'd swallowed glass. And my father turned ghost pale. Lucas's mouth opened, but no words came. The threat of calling security was long forgotten. I don't understand, my father finally muttered. He turned to James Summit with disbelief. You? You know Isabella? James smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling with amusement. Know her? Daniel, your daughter is one of the most brilliant innovators in the industry today. He paused, then looked around at the shell-shocked faces. Though, judging by the room's reaction, I'm guessing no one here realized that Isabella Lynn and Isabella Reyes are the same person. The silence shattered, literally, as Claire dropped her champagne flute. It exploded across the marble like a gunshot. Still, no one moved. That's not possible, Lucas said, stepping forward, his voice cracking. She's been off the radar since she left the company. She hasn't done anything. I've been building Lintic Systems, I said coolly, stepping toward them. That nothing is now valued at $4.2 billion. My father's hand trembled slightly as he gripped the back of a chair for balance. Lintic, the quantum battery tech company everyone's been trying to... That's right, I said, meeting his eyes. The elusive CEO you've been chasing? The technology that could save Reyes Dynamics from collapse? You raised her. James gave a polite cough. Speaking of which, shall we proceed with the announcement? Wait. My father held up his hand. What announcement? I took a step forward, letting the weight of the moment settle. Summit Capital is entering a strategic partnership with Lintic Systems, I said clearly. Together, we're acquiring a controlling interest in Reyes Dynamics. The ballroom burst into hushed chaos. Gasps, whispers, disbelieving stares. Lucas's face went red. You can't do this. This is our company. Actually, James interjected smoothly, we can. And we are. He turned to the crowd. Lintic's technology is a generation ahead of anything on the market. Every major manufacturer wants in. But Ms. Reyes here, she insisted her family's company be given the first opportunity. A courtesy, not an obligation. Claire pushed forward now, her voice sharp. Daniel, you can't let her take over. She'll ruin everything we've built. I laughed softly. Everything you built? I echoed. You mean the company hemorrhaging market share, clinging to gas-powered systems, while the world pivots to electric? The company that's 3/4 away from bankruptcy? My father's stoic expression cracked. Years of silence between us flickered in his eyes. Isabella, please, we can talk about this. I stepped closer, my voice low but firm. Now you want to talk? I asked. 7 years ago, I told you the future was electric. You told me to stop playing engineer and focus on real business. When I brought you my early prototypes, Lucas called them cute sketches. And when I left to start Lintic, Claire said I was walking away from my responsibilities. I stood tall. Well, I haven't walked away. I've built something that matters, and I'm here to save the company that never thought I was worth listening to. James Summit stood quietly, watching as the Reyes family unraveled in real time. The undercurrents of pride, denial, and long-buried resentment weren't lost on him. The time for talking was 7 years ago, I said calmly, eyes locked on my father. Right now, it's about saving what's left of Reyes Dynamics. I let the silence linger. You need Lintic's technology, and I'm offering it. The only real question is whether you can accept that the daughter you dismissed is now your only way out. Madison, who had been unusually silent behind Claire, suddenly spoke up, voice uncertain. But all those times we invited you to family dinners, events, and you always said you were busy. I was busy, I replied. Building a company takes time, sacrifice. But no one ever asked what I was building. You were all too sure I was failing to even consider that I might be succeeding. James pulled out a crisp folder and placed it gently on the table beside him. The documents are prepared, Daniel, he said. Lintic Systems will acquire a 60% controlling stake in Reyes Dynamics. I continued, clear and unwavering. I'll step in as CEO and begin implementing our electric vehicle roadmap across all divisions. We start production in 6 months. My father looked dazed. And if I refuse? He asked quietly. Then Summit and I will offer our tech to your competitors, I said without hesitation. And they'll be thrilled to take it. Lucas grabbed his arm. Dad, you can't be serious. Be quiet, Lucas. The sharpness in Daniel Reyes's voice cut through the air like a blade. Everyone froze. Then he turned to me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. The battery tech. It's really yours? He asked, voice softer now. I nodded and pulled out my phone, tapping into Lintic's internal system. Dozens of patent filings, prototype schematics, and registered IPs lit up the screen. Every cell design, every energy modulation protocol, every cooling circuit. I met his eyes. While you were pitying me for leaving, I was reshaping the industry from the ground up. He took the phone with shaking hands. I watched as his expression shifted. Confusion, then awe, then something heavier. The weight of realization. His eyes brimmed with tears. Save it, I said gently but firmly. We'll talk about the past later. Right now, I need to know. Are you ready to listen to your so-called embarrassment of a daughter? James Summit stepped forward again, holding out a pen. The room stilled. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. With hands that trembled, my father signed the contract. Behind him, Claire's sharp gasp was audible. Lucas's fists clenched in fury before he turned and stormed out, dragging Rachel behind him. Madison simply stared at me, as if seeing me for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, Summit announced to the stunned room. Please join me in welcoming the new CEO of Reyes Lintic Industries, Ms. Isabella Reyes. The applause was slow, uncertain, but it was there. Beside me, my father stood in stunned silence. Claire's perfectly composed face was cracking, but I didn't look at her. Instead, I touched the silver crescent moon at my collarbone, my mother's. She had told me to follow my heart, and I had, all the way to this moment. It had brought me full circle, not as the obedient daughter they once hoped I'd become, but as the woman they never saw coming. Later that night, as the party dwindled into soft music and clinking glasses, I stood alone on the terrace, watching the Texas hills fade into the dark horizon. My father found me there, his footsteps slow and hesitant behind me. That night you left, he said quietly, stopping a few feet away. You tried to show me your designs. I wouldn't even look at them. He didn't turn. No, I replied, you wouldn't. There was a long pause before he spoke again. I was wrong. About everything. When I finally turned to face him, I saw not the titan of industry who had once dismissed me, but a man who had, at last, seen his own reflection clearly. Can you ever forgive me? He asked. I looked down, my fingers brushing the silver crescent moon at my neck, my mother's pendant, the symbol of all the choices I'd made. of the distance, the pain, the determination. It depends, Dad, I said gently. Are you ready to learn from your daughter? He met my gaze and nodded. Teach me. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right, and once in a rare while, it even comes with a second chance to rebuild something broken, but on your own terms. The next morning, I stepped through the glass doors of what was once Reyes Dynamics. The new logo above the entrance now read, Reyes Lintic Industries. As I walked the main corridor, I passed the old company slogan, still mounted on the wall in gleaming steel letters, driving tomorrow's future. By next week, it would be replaced with something truer. Innovation runs in the family. Lucas's nameplate had already been removed. Claire's tastefully pretentious art installations were gone. The space felt lighter somehow, like the weight of years had finally been lifted. In my new office, formerly my father's, sunlight streamed across the desk. There, waiting for me, was a neatly wrapped package. Inside, nestled in soft tissue paper, was an old, weathered engineering textbook. My mother's. A sticky note marked a page near the back, her handwriting still so familiar after all these years. For Isabella, who will change the world her own way. And I had, not with permission, not with praise, but with vision, grit, and the quiet fire of a daughter who refused to be small. Just not the way anyone had expected. If you've made it this far into my story, thank you for listening to the parts that were too painful to say out loud for years. I was called a disappointment, ignored in boardrooms, and laughed out of family dinners. But I didn't let that define me. I kept building, learning, pushing, even when no one believed in me. If you've ever felt dismissed by the people who should have supported you most, I hope my story reminds you, you don't need permission to become who you're meant to be. You only need your vision, your conviction, and the courage to take one step at a time. So I want to hear from you. What did this story make you feel? Have you ever been in a room where no one saw your worth until it was too late? Leave a comment for me. I'll read every single one. Your words matter. Your voice matters. And if you've had to walk your path alone too, then maybe we're not so alone after all. And here's my advice. Don't wait for recognition. Build anyway. Grow anyway. The applause might come years later, or never at all. But the legacy you create? That's yours forever. Support those around you who are daring to do things differently. And if you see someone like me in your life, quietly working, overlooked, take a second look. They just might be building something world-changing. Because sometimes, the person the world underestimates most is the one rewriting the rules. And to anyone who's still doubting themselves, keep going. You are not too late, you are not too much, and you are absolutely not invisible. You're just getting started. Isabella Reyes.